Stop! I could have dropped my croissant!
The Conjuring. Released in 2013 and directed by James Wan, The Conjuring is a haunted house / possession horror movie about a family that moves into a new home and the demonologists or paranormal investigators that come to try to help them. This movie is based on a true story, so take that how you will, but the two demonologists are Ed and Lorraine Warren, who really were people who believed in this and would try to help people who were being haunted. For starters, this movie has a great cast. The Warrens are played by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. The patriarch of the family was played by Ron Livingston, and it was weird to not see him beating up a printer or fighting in World War II. Lily Taylor plays the mom, and two of the daughters are Joey King, who's in a lot of stuff now, and Murph from Interstellar / Renesmee from Twilight. I don't know the actress's name. There are a couple of other daughters, but I don't know who they are. So getting down to it, I think I'm going to start with the pros. This movie is directed very well, which is not a surprise because James Wan is a tried and true horror director with a lot of things to his credit that can be considered very good horror directing. The movie is very well written, especially the dialogue. I felt that the dialogue of the family made them feel like a real family. Sometimes you watch movies and you're like, this isn't how people interact. In this one, I grew up in a big family, and this kind of felt like real dialogue that would happen between a mother and a father who have a ton of kids running around. Ed and Lorraine Warren take their jobs very seriously, but they're written so that you can tell that they're serious, but they can understand why people would be skeptical, which is a breath of fresh air, because in a lot of these movies, they make it seem like anyone who doesn't believe is a big fat idiot.
Oh, so dumb. You're just a dumb little man.
And it's like, in real life, would you actually believe this stuff unless it was just put right in your face? Probably not. So that's also really great realism portrayed. Not only are the main characters of this movie fun to root for and you can relate to them, the side characters are interesting and beneficial to the plot. In a lot of horror movies, supporting characters either get pushed to the side or they're really annoying and they're only there for clearly comedic relief or something. There are two in this movie, namely Drew and Officer Brad, who seem like they're going to be side characters that don't matter very much, and by the end of it, they really do, so that's awesome. The atmosphere of this movie is suitably creepy, and they do a great job of building suspense at the beginning and then paying it off with some pretty good scares. Okay, honestly, and don't tell anybody this,
let's just keep it on the down low,
but I don't believe in all this paranormal mumbo jumbo. I don't believe in ghosts, none of that. But this movie still got me a couple of times, at least on the first watch, and on subsequent watches, they just give you chills, which is awesome. Because if you can get a skeptic and a non-believer to be like, whoa, that was creepy with your ghost story, props to you. The Conjuring is a little long for a horror movie. It clocks in at about an hour and 52 minutes, which a normal horror movie clocks in around an hour and a half, an hour 40, and anything longer can start to feel really long and kind of drawn out. But not this one. This one seems really well paced. The time flies by, and you're just enjoying yourself the whole way. Okay, mild spoiler, but someone in this movie gets possessed at one point, and their portrayal of a possessed person is so good and it sticks in my brain so much that I don't think I could watch them in anything else because I would just see them as this possessed demonic presence. So that just shows how good their acting is in this movie. And a big pro is the title card. We get an opening scene and then it transitions into a little bit of text to explain who the Warrens are. And then it goes right into this really cool title card with some epic music. That's another thing, the music is awesome. But that title card really sticks in your head. I remember seeing that in the theater for the first time and being like, whoa.
That's rad.
Okay, so now for the cons. I mentioned before that I don't believe in the paranormal stuff, so sometimes when they get a little too serious about the paranormal, it feels really silly and corny. For example, when the Warrens are inspecting the house, at one point they ask if things knock in threes, and when they find out that they do, they say, that's because it's an insult to the Trinity. Like, it made me laugh. I'm like, that's so silly. Come on, really?
You know they're laughing at you, right?
There's also one of the most ridiculous analogies I've ever heard. Ed Warren equates being haunted to stepping on gum and taking it with you. That's so bad. Come on, man. You couldn't have come up with a better comparison. This movie is also full of horror cliches, so I have to knock it a little bit, but they do them better than most other horror movies, so it almost elevates it to a new level there. But it's still stuff you've seen in a million other movies, so sometimes you know what's coming, or you're like, oh, I've seen that. And one of the biggest cons of this movie is that they say it is based on the true story. It's really funny to consider the audacity behind some of the choices made in this movie, because people are like flying around the room at points and just being dragged all over the place, and they still say based on the true story. It's like, okay, come on. Come on, man, that's not what happened.
Oh, come on!
When all is said and done, though, this movie is a great time, and it stays just as good upon rewatching. I'm going to give it an 8.6 out of 10. This is an instant horror classic. Honestly, this is one of the best, if not the best, haunted house horror movie. It's definitely the best of the last decade, maybe history. And I'm not really counting things like The Exorcist, because that's just a possession movie. I don't really know how to classify The Conjuring, because there's a lot of stuff going on, but whatever. It's a great movie, that's the point. Alright, well, if you like this video, if you could like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel out, and check back for more reviews later. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.